The HOA notice is flapping in the breeze, taped right across my garage like a scarlet letter. I stop mid-step, my iced coffee sweating in one hand, and just stare at it. For a second, I think it's a prank. But no, there's the official watermark, the smug Helvetica font, and that soul-sucking phrase, Notice of Violation. My name's Drew, 38 years old, graphic designer by trade, and as of this moment, public enemy number one in Oak Ridge Pines. I live in a quiet suburb about 30 minutes outside Denver. Nothing fancy, just rows of beige homes, evenly trimmed lawns, and retirees with too much time and too many opinions. If you're into weird home improvement drama, power-hungry neighbors, or mildly passive-aggressive revenge, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Because this story, it goes from petty to paranormal real fast. I pull the notice off and read it twice. The HOA is demanding I repaint or completely renovate my garage because, quote, the structure's appearance may reduce neighborhood property values. It also mentions peeling paint, outdated color, and, I kid you not, aesthetic disharmony. Now listen, I'll be the first to admit my garage isn't the prettiest on the block. The paint's a little faded, sure. It's a dusty seafoam green from when I bought the house 5 years ago, but it's sturdy, clean, functional, and more importantly, mine. I walk inside and toss the paper on the kitchen counter like it's contaminated. My dog, Pepper, trots over and gives me that tilted head look like, what did you do this time? The HOA isn't new to messing with people. Last month, my neighbor Maria got fined for having a non-standard lawn ornament. It was a gnome, a literal garden gnome. The month before that, someone else got cited for a non-regulation mailbox. Apparently black is fine. Navy blue, total anarchy. I check the HOA portal, hoping this is some clerical mix-up. But no, there it is, violation 7729. They've even included photos of my garage taken from across the street like I'm some suburban criminal. What's worse, I see who submitted the complaint, Julia Halbrook. She's the head of the HOA board, mid-50s, wears power cardigans like armor, and has the emotional warmth of a traffic cone. She's lived here forever and treats the HOA rules like sacred scripture. Julia once stopped me at the mailbox to tell me my recycling bin was visible for more than 18 minutes after collection. She said it with the kind of concern you'd reserve for a gas leak or a rabid squirrel. The problem isn't just the garage. It's me. It's me. I'm not married. I work from home. I don't show up to board meetings or bake sales or Sunday weed pulling. I keep to myself. That's practically a war crime in this neighborhood. So yeah, maybe my garage looks old, but it's not hurting anyone. Later that night, I pour a glass of wine and sit out back with Pepper. Crickets chirp, a neighbor's sprinkler ticks on, and I start thinking, why now? The garage has looked the same for years. Then I remember, 3 weeks ago I had a few friends over for a backyard horror movie night. We projected The Others onto the fence and made themed cocktails. Nothing wild, just a few laughs, some fog machine effects for fun. Julia had walked by during the seance scene and practically jumped out of her mom jeans. She didn't say anything, but her eyes said plenty. Now, I'm not saying that's what triggered this, but I am saying Julia is the type of person who files complaints the way other people post memes. Fast, emotional, and without checking facts. The next morning, I do what any good citizen does when faced with irrational authority. I go to the HOA office. It's a small brick building near the community pool. Inside, it smells like printer toner and lemon-scented bureaucracy. I wait 10 minutes before Julia calls me in, not even pretending to smile. Mr. Reed, she says, folding her hands like she's auditioning for The Crown, this isn't personal. I nod. Sure, that's why there's a photo of my garage and not Rick's 3 doors down, which has mold and missing siding. She doesn't blink. This is simply a matter of standards. The neighborhood voted for these aesthetics. We all have to follow them. Who's we, I ask? Because I've never seen a ballot about garage colors. Julia gives me a look like I just farted during prayer. You're free to attend board meetings if you'd like more influence. Translation, fall in line or get steamrolled. She hands me a printed list of acceptable color schemes for exterior structures. They're all shades of tan, gray, or something called soft bark. It's like someone bottled the spirit of boredom. I stare at the list. What happens if I don't repaint it? There's a fine, she says sweetly. And if it continues, we escalate. Potential liens, legal enforcement. You know how it is. Oh, I know how it is. I walk out of that office fuming. Pepper's face flashes in my head. That goofy, happy dog who loves watching ghost shows with me. Then I think of Julia, the HOA, the tiny suburban tyrants and their beige paint chips. If they want aesthetic harmony, fine. I'll give them harmony, but it's going to be... That night, I stay up until 2 a.m. sketching. Ornate gables, gothic shutters, cracked window illusions, cobweb murals. I'm not just repainting my garage, I'm transforming it into a haunted Victorian mansion, one shade of spite at a time. I start with the paint. Not just any paint. The paint. I spend an entire Saturday morning at the hardware store, scanning every dark swatch like I'm planning a funeral for good taste. I land on Phantom Ash for the main walls and Blood Moon Ebony for the trim. The names alone make the teenager at the counter raise an eyebrow. Big Halloween fan? He asks. No, I say. Just really passionate about suburban compliance. He blinks. I wink. When I pull into my driveway with 8 gallons of mood lighting in liquid form, Pepper barks twice, either in approval or alarm. I take it as a good omen. By Monday, the garage is already halfway transformed. Gone is the dull seafoam green. Now the walls drink in the light like a cursed artifact. I've added subtle black filigree stenciling near the top, like the ironwork of a turn-of-the-century asylum. I keep the music low, mostly string quartets and old horror soundtracks to stay in the zone. By Tuesday afternoon, Julia walks by with her dog, some yappy thing named Miso that wears booties in summer, and just stops, stares. I pretend not to see her. She pretends not to fume. The next day, I add arched wooden frames over the garage doors. Fake windows with cloudy plexiglass and drawn silhouettes. A woman in a bonnet, a child holding a balloon, and one that just looks like a looming shadow. It's not overly scary, nothing gory, but it's enough to make people slow down when they drive by. I hear one kid whisper to another, "That place is totally haunted." Victory. But then comes the official warning. Another notice, this time delivered in person by a bored, teenage HOA assistant in a golf cart. The letter demands immediate cessation of all unauthorized architectural modifications. It includes photos again and cites unauthorized decorative framing and non-standard external facade. I laugh. Then I reread it and laugh harder. Facade! They're using architectural jargon now. Still, I take a breath. I remind myself not to escalate, yet instead I go online and read the HOA bylaws front to back. That's when I find the gold. Section 4.8.2, seasonal thematic displays and artistic installations are permitted provided they do not pose a safety hazard or obstruction to common space. Seasonal, thematic, artistic. They left the back door wide open. I print the page and highlight the clause. I tape it to my fridge. Then I take a trip to the Halloween store. Yes, in June. Thankfully, there's always that one overstocked place downtown that never truly shuts down. The air inside smells like rubber and childhood trauma. I load my cart with fog machines, LED uplights, fake crows, a velvet curtain for the upper eaves, and a motion-activated soundbox that whispers, "Don't go in there," when someone gets too close. It's excessive. It's brilliant. By the weekend, my garage is no longer just painted. It's a scene. There are flickering lanterns under the gables, fake ivy crawling up the side, and one window that lights up with the silhouette of a pale face that disappears when you look straight at it. I call it Casper chic. Naturally, the neighborhood reacts. Some people slow down just to gape. Others speed up like the garage might chase them. A few come by in the evenings with their kids to take pictures. One guy, Brian from 3 houses over, brings me a 6-pack and says, "Finally, someone made this place interesting." But not everyone is charmed. 2 days after the final fog machine goes live, Julia returns. She rings the doorbell like she's summoning the dead. I answer with Pepper at my side. He growls, "God bless that dog." "Mr. Reed," she says, squinting past me at the glowing garage, "we need to talk." "Do we?" "I've received multiple complaints. Your installation is distressing." "To who?" "Children, elderly residents, people with heart conditions." I blink. "I'm pretty sure it's not medically classified as a trigger." She tries to push past me, but I don't move. The board is considering fines. Escalation. Section 4.8.2, I say. Seasonal thematic artistic display. I have it printed if you'd like to read it. Julia's lips pinch like she just sucked a lemon. It's June. Yes, I say, the season of nightmares. She glares. This is not the kind of theme we meant. Should have specified, I smile. Julia storms off. That night, I sit on the porch with Pepper and watch the neighborhood transform. A few teens come by, laughing, taking selfies in front of the fog machine. A couple from the next block stops to ask if I do custom murals. A dad with a stroller compliments the lighting. I realize something. I've created a destination. In the most boring beige part of suburbia, people finally have a reason to look up from their phones and feel something. That scares the HOA more than the silhouettes ever could. Still, they're not done with me. The next morning, there's a folded note in my mailbox. Not official, just handwritten. Block letters. No signature. You're making us look bad. Take it down. I reread it 3 times. Then I flip it over, scrawl 1 sentence, and tape it back to the mailbox post. You could always step your game up. They never reply. By the end of the week, I install subtle speakers in the garden bed that play Victorian piano music from dusk till 10 p.m. Not loud, just atmospheric. It's eerie, yes, but also kind of beautiful. Melancholy in a way that makes people feel like they've stepped into a ghost story. Someone leaves a flower on my driveway. Just one. A lily. I never find out who it was. Julia, however, is reaching her boiling point. On Friday, I see her talking to a guy in a suit on the curb, both pointing at the garage. Clipboard man. You can tell from the khakis and concerned nods, it's either an inspector or a hitman hired by a very boring mafia. I wave at them, cheerfully. Julia doesn't wave back. I know what's coming. The HOA isn't going to let this slide, not without a fight, so I do what any strategic weirdo would do. I prepare for war. The first letter says I'm in violation of neighborhood safety codes. The second claims I'm encouraging loitering and nuisance gatherings. By the third, they've upgraded to possible municipal complaint. It's like a snowball of bureaucratic drama rolling downhill, except I'm at the bottom, sipping iced tea while building a cemetery in my front flower bed. Okay, not a real cemetery. Just 3 foam headstones, tastefully cracked, arranged beside the rose bushes. One says, "Here lies beige." The other died of HOA fatigue. And the last one, just a QR code that links to the Oak Ridge bylaws. Petty? Sure. But artistic? Absolutely. And somehow the teens love it. They start coming by after dark in small groups, taking selfies, making TikToks, tagging my garage in posts with captions like, "Caught a ghost, got a Pepsi, haunted garage." 1010, scarier than my ex's texts. Suburban legend unlocked. There's something beautiful about seeing these kids, faces glowing in phone screens, not causing trouble, just enjoying the spectacle. In a world that moves too fast, where everything is curated and controlled, I've given them something weird and unexpected. Naturally, Julia sees it differently. One evening, I come home from the grocery store to find 2 HOA board members, Dale and Marcy, waiting on my porch. They look like backup dancers for a guilt-themed musical. "Mr. Reed," Dale says, holding a clipboard like it's a crucifix, "we need to discuss the impact your installation is having on the community." Marcy adds, "We've had complaints. People feel unsafe walking by your property at night." Unsafe? I gestured to the security lights I installed. It's brighter than Target on Black Friday. Children are being drawn to your home. It's disruptive. Kids are being kids, I say. They come, they take photos, they leave. No one's tagging walls, no one's drinking or vandalizing. Dale clears his throat. Still, it's not in line with the community's family values. Family values, the last refuge of the creatively bankrupt. I wasn't aware family values meant everything has to be beige and joyless. They leave without responding. The next day, the HOA tries something new. They call the city. I find out when a uniformed municipal inspector shows up, asking to assess the structural integrity of your facade extensions. It's surreal. He walks around with a notepad, occasionally tapping the fake shutters or peering at the plexiglass windows like they might explode. After 20 minutes, he sighs and says, "Honestly, this is one of the most structurally sound garages I've inspected this month. You even used weatherproof screws. Who are you?" "Graphic designer," I say. He chuckles. "You should have been an architect." I offer him a Diet Coke. He takes it. Julia, who's watching from across the street, looks like she's about to swallow her own jaw. But she isn't done. 2 nights later, I'm on the porch with Pepper, sipping hot chocolate when a group of teens walks by. One of them, a tall girl in a hoodie, waves. "Your garage is sick." "Thanks," I call back. "We're doing seance Saturdays next month." They laugh, but as they're leaving, a car pulls up. Out steps Julia, furious. She storms toward the kids like she's auditioning for Law and Order HOA division. "You are trespassing," she barks. "This is private property." One of the boys lifts his phone. "We're on the sidewalk." "This is harassment," Julia insists. "You're encouraging illegal behavior," she yells, turning toward me. "You've turned your house into a tourist trap." I raise an eyebrow. "It's suburban performance art." You'll hear from our lawyer. Will he be wearing a costume too?" The kids giggle. Julia storms off. The next day I receive the most aggressive letter yet. It accuses me of encouraging loitering, creating unsafe traffic conditions, and, my favorite, hosting unsanctioned public events. The letter ends with a demand to appear at a disciplinary hearing in front of the board. Hearing. Like it's a trial. Like I'm being summoned for witchcraft in 1692. And you know what? I'm ready. I spend the next 2 days gathering everything, every receipt, every photo, every line of bylaw text they clearly didn't think I'd read. I print everything in color. I put it all in a black binder labeled Exhibit A, mildly haunted but fully legal. The night before the hearing, I stand in the driveway with Pepper and look at the garage. There's mist curling around the baseboards from the fog machine. A crow prop sways slightly in the breeze. The music box in the ivy plays a soft, distorted lullaby. It's eerie. It's beautiful. It's mine. And here's the thing I didn't expect. I'm not even mad anymore. Not really. Somewhere along the way, this stopped being about rebellion and became something else. Something personal. A space I shaped into joy. Nostalgia. Something imperfect but intentional. A reminder that art, even weird art, can live anywhere, even above your trash bins. The next morning, I dress like I'm going to a courtroom, black button-up, gray slacks, a tie that may or may not have tiny ghosts on it. I print one extra copy of the bylaw section and slide it into a plastic sleeve. When I walk into the HOA office, Julia's already seated at the front of the small conference room. The other board members are there, along with a couple of concerned residents, faces I recognize from the neighborhood walks. I take my seat, open my binder, smile, let the haunting begin. The room smells like cinnamon air freshener and passive aggression. A folding table separates me from the HOA board, who sit in a tight row like suburban judges on a reality TV panel. Julia is dead center, wearing her usual beige blazer and a pinched expression that says, "I'd rather be anywhere else, but I'd most like to be right." "Mr. Reed," she begins, "this hearing concerns several formal complaints regarding your recent modifications, specifically your garage's transformation into a themed installation." She says themed installation like it's a venereal disease. I smile politely. "Would you like me to read the relevant bylaw aloud, or would you prefer to do the honors?" A few people chuckle, softly. I catch Dale, the board treasurer, hiding a smirk behind his coffee cup. Julia ignores it. "We'll begin by reviewing the timeline," she says, shuffling papers. "You were first issued a notice of violation on—" "I remember," I cut in. "I framed it, next to the skull sconce." That earns a snort from someone in the back. Julia flinches. "Let the record reflect," she says icily, "that the resident is not taking this process seriously." "Oh, I am," I say. "I've been more serious about this garage than anything since my taxes." She glares. "The issue at hand is that your garage has become a nuisance. You've drawn crowds, disrupted the peace, and, according to multiple neighbors, made the street feel unsafe." I open my binder slowly, theatrically. Let's talk about that. I lay out photos. Teens smiling, posing respectfully, never stepping off the sidewalk. I pass around signed statements from 5 neighbors, families, mind you, who say they've enjoyed the creativity and felt more connected to the community because of it. "This isn't a frat house," I say. "There's no drinking, no parties, no trespassing, just fog, a few lights, and the occasional piano music." "Occasional," Julia snorts. "It's every night. From sunset to 10 p.m., I reply, as per noise ordinances, which I checked twice. "Would you like a copy?" I slide it across the table like a mic drop. Marcy takes it. Julia, visibly annoyed, shifts tactics. "Regardless of legality, the HOA maintains the right to enforce standards of neighborhood appearance, and your garage, let's be honest, Mr. Reed, it's a spectacle." "Thank you," I say sincerely. It was meant to be. Laughter. Again, more open this time. Julia's eyes narrow. "Are you refusing to comply?" "I am fully compliant," I say. According to section 4.8.2, seasonal, thematic, artistic displays are permitted. I've followed every code. I even used weatherproof paint. Dale chimes in finally. Technically, he's not wrong. Julia stares at him like he just proposed marriage to me. Dale, this is a matter of community cohesion. It sets a precedent. He shrugs. It's not illegal to have taste. I suppress a grin. Someone in the audience claps once. Then again. A smattering of applause follows, confused but sincere. Julia stands up. This hearing is not a popularity contest. It is about upholding standards. Whose standards, I ask? Yours? She freezes. I lean in. That's the problem, Julia. You think the neighborhood should look one way. But this isn't a military base. It's a neighborhood, and people live here. Not just homeowners, but humans, kids, artists, weirdos like me. More laughter. Even Marcy cracks a smile. I didn't break any rules, I continue. I followed the ones you wrote. So if this display bothers you, then maybe what you're really upset about is that you didn't think of it first. Silence. Julia picks up her papers, shuffles them with unnecessary force, and says, This hearing is adjourned. The board will deliberate and inform you of our decision within 5 business days. I nod. Looking forward to it. When I step outside, Pepper is waiting in the passenger seat of my car, wagging like I just won a Grammy. Across the parking lot, I see a group of teens sitting on their bikes, watching me. One of them gives a dramatic thumbs up. You're like a legend now, he calls. The haunted garage guy. I don't correct him. I just wave and drive off. By the time I get home, I already have a plan in place. I'm not assuming victory, but I am preparing for it. First step, expand the display, not in scale, just in detail. I repaint the garage steps with faux marble texture. I hang velvet curtains behind the plexiglass windows so the silhouettes look even more real. I wire the lights to flicker occasionally, like an old gas lamp on the fritz. I even build a miniature wrought iron fence around the flowerbed cemetery, complete with lanterns. My favorite addition, a new motion sensor that triggers a whisper. He's watching. It's subtle. It barely triggers during the day, but at night, pure goosebumps. Midway through the week, I find a single envelope in my mailbox, no HOA logo. Inside, a note scrawled in blocky handwriting. It's creepy, but kind of beautiful. I bring my daughter by every night. No name, no return address, just those words. And just like that, I realized something I hadn't until now. This garage isn't just mine anymore. It belongs to everyone who ever felt bored, stifled, or muted by the suburbs. Everyone who grew up drawing skeletons in the margins of math homework. Everyone who's ever wanted to make something weird and wonderful, even if it made their neighbors uncomfortable. 5 days later, the official notice arrives. I open it at the kitchen table. Pepper watches like he knows it's a big deal. The letter is short, cold, bureaucratic. After review, the board has determined that your current garage display does not violate HOA code as written. However, a future amendment to bylaws regarding permanent thematic structures will be considered. Translation, you win this round. Freak. I fold the letter and smile, because no matter what rules they write next, this haunted house is already part of the neighborhood's story. The day after I win, my doorbell rings. It's not Julia. It's not the HOA. It's a girl. 11, maybe 12, shy, holding a sketch pad against her chest like armor. Behind her, her dad gives me an apologetic wave from the sidewalk. Hi, she says. I just wanted to say, your garage is really cool. I blink. Thanks, that means a lot. She hesitates, then adds, I like drawing monsters too, but mine are like not scary. More sad. I smile. Those are the best kind. She nods, then hands me a torn page from her sketch pad. A tall, spindly figure with droopy eyes and a flower pot on its head. A single word beneath. Herbert. I tape Herbert to the inside of my garage window the same night. By the weekend, 5 more kids leave their own artwork on my porch. Ghosts wearing hats, vampire bunnies, a haunted vending machine. I start a gallery along the driveway wall. Suddenly, the haunted garage has fan art. It's becoming less of a display and more of a community project, and that's when things get weird. Well, weirder. On Tuesday night, Pepper starts barking at the window. I step out onto the porch and see a small group of kids gathered in the street. Not laughing, not filming, just staring at the garage. What's up? I ask. One girl points. There's someone inside. I frown. The fog machine is on, and the LED backlight in the window makes the silhouette extra visible. But it's my silhouette, the lady in the bonnet. A prop, always has been. Except there's something off. The silhouette is moving, slowly, back and forth, like someone pacing. But I haven't rigged it to move. My first instinct is a prank, maybe a bored teen with access to a projector or a friend inside. But the garage is locked, always is, and I haven't given anyone access. I walk over. The kids scatter like respectful cockroaches, giving me space. I unlock the side door and push it open. Empty. No signs of forced entry. No props moved. No sound. Just the usual smell of paint and dust and fog juice. I step back outside and look at the window again. The silhouette is gone. I don't sleep much that night. The next day, I check every piece of tech. Motion sensors, timers, even the speakers. Nothing's been tampered with. I tell myself it was a trick of the light, maybe someone walking behind me in the street. Maybe one of the kids set up something. A prank. But then I find the photo. It's in my mailbox. Again, no return address, just a Polaroid. It shows my garage. At night. The fog. The lights. The silhouette in the window. But it's not the bonnet lady. It's something else. Something tall, with what looks like a hand pressed against the glass. And my lights weren't working that night. I checked the metadata. There is none. It's film, old school. I sit on the porch for hours that evening, just watching the garage. Pepper is curled up beside me, calm now. The piano music plays softly. No visitors tonight. Just a few cars, a delivery guy, the usual suburban silence. Around 9:30, a neighbor I've never met, a guy in his 60s with a faded baseball cap, walks over and clears his throat. "You the one who made the haunted house?" "Yeah," I say. "Why?" He looks at the garage, then back at me. "You know, there's a story about that plot." I raise an eyebrow. "You mean my house?" He nods. "My cousin lived here back in the 70s. Said there was always something weird in the garage. Cold spots, voices, tools going missing. Once he saw a kid sitting on top of the fridge staring at the wall. But he didn't have any kids." I wait for the punchline, but he just shrugs. "Could be nonsense. He drank a lot back then." "Right," he nods. "Still, thought you ought to know." Then he walks off like he just delivered a weather report. Pepper looks up at me. I look at the garage. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't. But sometimes places remember things. Energy builds up. Grief, creativity, even rage, they have weight. And this place, it's had a lot of all three. But I also think maybe the garage didn't become haunted because of me. Maybe I just gave it permission. The next night, there's another note. Slid under my door this time. The face in the window looked sad. Maybe she's just lonely. I tape that one beside Herbert too. Then I do something I haven't done since high school. I paint a portrait. Not of a ghost, not of something scary, just a woman with kind eyes wearing a bonnet. She looks a little like my grandmother, a little like no one I've ever known. I hang it inside the garage, where the silhouette usually is. That night, the silhouette doesn't appear. But the next morning, there's a daisy on my porch. No note. I leave it there. I let it wilt. The HOA doesn't send any more warnings. Julia still walks by, but she doesn't look up, like if she ignores it long enough that it might vanish. I think on some level, she knows she lost. Not just the hearing, but the neighborhood. People started planting pumpkins in July. Someone down the street put up a 6-foot cardboard werewolf with sunglasses. It's spreading. One afternoon, I see a real estate agent showing a house on the next block. I hear her say, "And we have a very colorful local character. You'll love him." Colorful. I'll take it. Because somehow, I've become something more than the haunted garage guy. I've become a story. The kind people whisper to new residents. The kind kids remember when they grow up. The kind that makes a neighborhood more than just property lines and fences. And I think maybe the garage always wanted to be seen. Maybe we all do. That night, I install a tiny plaque by the driveway. It reads, "Every home has a spirit. Some are just louder than others." I don't expect the news crew. It's a Thursday morning, late August, and I'm out front clipping some overgrown lavender when a white van rolls up. A woman hops out, holding a mic, followed by a camera guy with a rig the size of a lawnmower. She's got that practiced smile that says, "We're going to pretend this is spontaneous." "Are you Drew Reed?" she asks, stepping up my walk. "Depends. If you're with the HOA, I'm on vacation until 2031. She laughs. No, we're with Channel 9 Morning Spotlight. We're doing a segment on unique community art projects. Behind her, the cameraman is already filming my garage. The music box starts playing on cue, and the fog machine lets out a lazy hiss. The interviewer's eyes widen. Oh, wow, it's even better in person. I glance down at my lavender-covered gloves. Give me 5 minutes to not look like a Victorian gardener, and I'll be right with you. 10 minutes later, we're on my porch. Pepper, tail thumping, sits loyally by my feet as I explain how a passive-aggressive HOA notice turned into the most unintentional art exhibit in Colorado suburbia. The camera catches the kids' artwork lined along the wall, the velvet curtains, the silhouettes. I tell them about Herbert, about the daisy, about the neighborhood slowly turning from gray to whimsical, one haunted mailbox at a time. You've become something of a folk hero, the reporter says, glancing at her notes. Did you mean for that to happen? I shake my head. No, I just wanted to be left alone. But sometimes, when you push back with creativity instead of anger, people lean in instead of away. Pepper barks once. She laughs. The camera guy gives me a quiet thumbs up. The segment airs 2 days later. My phone blows up. Texts, emails, random DMs from people saying, I wish you lived in my neighborhood. A mom from Kansas sends me a photo of her son's haunted Lego garage. Someone in Portland shares their own ghost porch made from yarn and old milk jugs. I even get a message from a former HOA president in Texas. We always focused on enforcing quiet. You reminded me it's okay to make noise, just the right kind. It hits me harder than I expect, because for years I thought keeping to myself was a shield. Turns out it was a cage. And this whole mess, the garage, the teens, the whispering silhouette, was the first time I cracked the door open. And people walked in, respectfully, with daisy flowers and sketch pads. Julia never says another word to me. She resigns from the HOA board a few weeks later. No public statement, just a line in the monthly newsletter. Julia Halbrook has stepped down to focus on her personal endeavors. I hear she joined a quilting club. The new HOA chair is Dale. First order of business? He proposes a new clause in the bylaws. Residents are permitted one year-round artistic display, provided it does not obstruct property access or violate fire codes. I frame that newsletter page, too. By October, actual Halloween, the garage becomes the main stop for trick-or-treaters. I hand out king-sized candy bars. Someone sets up a cider station by my mailbox. Parents take turns taking group photos in front of the garage. Kids leave more drawings. Someone starts calling it the Friendly Fright House. And every now and then, maybe once a week, I still see it, just for a second. A shadow, tall and slow, passing behind the window. Never threatening. Never clear. Just there. I don't tell anyone about it. Not anymore. I like the mystery. Because here's the truth no one tells you about suburban life. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't a ghost or a rule book. It's silence. It's forgetting that this row of houses, these garages and porches and flower beds hold real lives, real weirdness, real wonder. I didn't start this as a rebellion. I started it because I was tired of feeling invisible in a place that insisted on sameness. I didn't want to burn the rules. I just wanted to bend them into something beautiful, maybe even unforgettable. And somehow, in doing that, I made space for others, for laughter, for ghosts with good timing. The garage still stands. Fog rolls out every night. The piano plays at dusk. The kids visit. Herbert gets seasonal outfits now, a scarf in winter, a tiny graduation cap in May. The silhouette still appears, just now and then, a soft reminder that I didn't build a haunted house. I just gave the neighborhood permission to stop pretending it wasn't already alive. So yeah, next time someone tells you your garage is too old, too weird, too off-brand, paint it like a haunted mansion. You might be surprised what comes out of the fog.